Hey friends, Sleepy here, and welcome to episode of the weekly playlist. It's Friday, so you guys know what that means. It's time for me to share with you guys the games I have been playing during the week. I'll let you guys know my thoughts and opinions on the games I have been playing, but I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on them, your opinions on the titles I share with you today. I'd also like to hear what games you guys have been playing because that gives me ideas on games to check out, and you guys have been playing some really cool games, and it's given me some ideas of new games to try out. And of course, if you guys have any suggestions on a game you think I should check out, please let me know because you guys have been suggesting some really cool games. And I actually have a nice list going of games to check out from your guys' recommendations. So I really appreciate it. Now, this week I only have two games to share with you because I haven't actually had a whole lot of time to game. I really only play games mostly during the beginning of the week because I had my 2 days off. I was off Wednesday and Thursday, but I was busy those days doing stuff. I had to get an oil change and clean the car and laundry, and I just had stuff I had to do here around the house. And then I also went out game hunting 2 different days with my wife, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to play games, but I did get to play a little bit of games this week, and so I'll share with you guys the games I have been playing. The first one is for Game Boy Advance, and it's a title that I'm very close to beating, but I've been going through and trying to mop up some of the missing stuff that I didn't get in certain levels, and that was Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Advance. I've been playing this on my Game Boy player on my GameCube, which is my favorite way to play my Game Boy Advance titles right now because I like being able to play them on a big screen. Now, this is a wonderful port of the Super Nintendo Donkey Kong Country with some different changes to it. If you guys have never played the Game Boy Advance version, I highly recommend it. It's a really great companion piece to the Super Nintendo version because there are some new features to this. One of the big things about that is being able to save anytime you want to. It's one thing I really like. You just hit the start, brings up the menu, and you can save whenever you want to. If you guys played the original version for Super Nintendo, you could only save when you went to Candy Kong, and sometimes she'd be at the beginning of a world, sometimes she'd be at the end of a world. And so if you ran out of lives and didn't get to her, you'd have to start the whole world all over again. So I do like that feature, being able to save whenever you want, because something interrupts you, you gotta go. You could save real quick and don't have to worry about leaving your GameCube playing. On games. So that's what we did as a kid. You would leave your Super Nintendo running if you were able to get to save, and then hope that your Super Nintendo didn't turn off, so you could resume your game. So I love that being able to save feature whenever you want to. Now the graphics aren't as good as the Super Nintendo, but they're still done fairly well. And you got to remember though that Game Boy Advance games were made for the little Game Boy Advance with a tiny little screen, so they were limited with the hardware and for the limited screen. So when you are playing this on the Game Boy player, of course it blows up the screen. And of course, some people have mentioned about the colors being altered a little bit by playing it in the Game Boy player, but if you have a nicer, you have a pretty decent TV like I do, you can always adjust the colors on there yourself with the different TV settings, and you can find one that works for you well. And I actually do have a nice setting on my TV in the bedroom for Game Boy Advance games, and they look really good on there, so I have a lot of fun with this one. They did add some other cool things to this, like there's some new mini games that were added. That Funky Kong now has like a fishing game, and then Candy Kong, she actually has like a DDR type of mini game that you can play. So there are some mini games. They also added some little camera collectibles where you can actually get little different pictures in the world, so that's cool. And they added some new bonuses and stuff. And this is a great game that I've been having a blast. I'm very far in it too. I'm almost to the end to face K. Rool and his ship, so looking forward to beating this one because I want to get to play Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Country 3 on the Game Boy Advance after I beat this, because I beat all three of those on Super Nintendo. I beat all three of them on the Super Famicom, but now I want to beat all of the Game Boy Advance version because they're a little bit different, but they're really fun. So if you guys have a Game Boy Advance, definitely should owe it to yourself to pick up a copy of Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Advance. A really cool game. Now the only other one I want to play after I beat these ones is there is a version released for the Game Boy Color. There was Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Color, which I have, but I've never really played that one at all, so I do want to check it out and see how different it is compared to the Super Nintendo and the Game Boy Advance version, because obviously the Game Boy Color is not as advanced as the Game Boy Advance system is, so I'm sure it'll be similar to like the Donkey Kong Land games, because those are actually another one another series of games that I had played a long time ago and beat, but I haven't played in years. So I also would like to play the Donkey Kong Land games, 1, 2, and 3. Those were really cool games for the original Game Boy that were fun. So definitely we'll get to those eventually. But I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts if you guys have played Donkey Kong Country for Game Boy Advance or not. I absolutely love it. I have the strategy guide for this actually because I would like to 102% this because there are some extra stuff they added to it. And it's a really fun game. You know, it starts out easy, but does get more difficult as you get further along into the story, especially if you're trying to get all the secrets and stuff. So that's something that's a cool game, and I love that they added stuff to this over the Super Nintendo version. So if you beat the one on Super Nintendo, definitely recommend you guys try the Game Boy Advance version because there are some differences in it that make it worth picking up, and it's a fairly cheap title. They sell it locally at my store for like $10, sometimes like 7 or 8. So very cool game. Definitely worth. I think you guys should check it out. And the main game that I have been working on, and this is because of my buddy Dean, you know, he was talking about this series, and it just got me wanting to go back and play this one that I didn't finish years ago. And actually, the last time I played this before this year was 2009, so quite a while ago, and that was Far Cry 2, which this is awesome. I had not played this one in so long, so that when I first had started playing this again, I decided to watch a little gameplay video at the beginning of the story, so I get myself back into what the hell I was doing, because this one has a setting in Africa, and it takes place in an unknown country. You know, they don't really tell you the name of the country at all, but you eventually get involved, and like there's a big like civil war conflict going on between two different sides in this country, and you're a mercenary whose main primary goal is to kill this guy called the Jackal, who's an arms dealer, because he armed both sides of the conflict, and so your job is to go there and kill him, and you're a mercenary. And I really like this. This was, you know, says, go anywhere, do anything. Open world gameplay gives you total freedom to play the game you want. A world totally without limits. It had multiplayer, which obviously I don't even know if the servers are even up. Anybody would actually be playing the multiplayer in Far Cry 2. I just playing this for the story, but it's a really cool game. I'm having a blast with it. There's a bunch of different characters that you can play as, but there's like really no real difference other than just, you know, your character's background story. But you're all basically mercenaries, and whatever character you pick as, there's 11 other ones in the world that you can actually recruit as your buddy and do missions and stuff for them. So I thought it was really cool having the buddies in this game. There's a total of three maps for this game. Like you start off in the northern sector, so you have, and it's broke up into 9 different little grids. Then there's a little area in between the south, the north and south, and then eventually the second half of the game takes place in the southern half of the map. And then there's a third map called the Heart of Darkness, which is a final part of the game. And once you get there, you can't go back. But it still was a really fun game. The graphics still hold really well. And this is backwards compatible with the Xbox One X and Xbox Series X. And I've been playing this on my Xbox One X, and it looks beautiful. It's been upscaled. Of course, my TV's not 4K, it's 1080p, but you know, it upscales it. And the loading times, this thing loads really quickly. I don't notice any graphical glitch or anything. You know, the power of the Xbox One X, you know, really enhances this game. So I'm so glad that this is a backwards compatible title, because it's great. And I actually own a digital copy of this that I got from having my Xbox Live subscription. So at some point in the almost 20 years of having Xbox Live, you know, they at some point gave it to me for free, so I was able to install that and playing through it. Now, when I first had played this game back in 2008 and I played it into 2009, I got about 30 hours into the game, and I beat the first half of the game. I got to the second part and then kind of stopped playing from there, so then I resumed my game. Now, there's a currency system, so you don't have money, you actually have raw diamonds that you get in the world, and there's actually briefcases that are around the map that you can actually find, and you have a little map and a little GPS device, and it'll actually turn green when it picks up a signal of one of the briefcases, and you actually can try to find them. And there's like 221 of those cases, and sometimes they have 1 or 2 or like 3 diamonds in there. And so that's one way to get currency, but another way to do is to do the main story missions. And you can also do side missions that will pay you in diamonds. And then using those diamonds, you can upgrade your character to hold more health packs, to take less damage, to wear more armor. But then you can also buy all kinds of different guns for your to use, because there's a ton of different kind of guns. You got your sniper rifles, you got shotguns, you got pistols, you got machine guns, you got rocket launchers, you got grenade launchers, you've got Molotov cocktails, you've got grenades. So there's a huge variety of weapons you can use to dispatch your enemies, because this is a first-person shooter and it's Far Cry, and a big part of the gameplay is killing your enemies. So you have a huge variety to do, and getting those diamonds is very helpful. So I highly recommend getting a guide. I actually recently bought the strategy guide for this, and it has a nice detail of all the maps and tells you where all the diamonds are, because I've actually got all the collectibles before I stopped playing this game back in 2009. I actually went and got all of the 220 some diamonds, briefcases in the world, so I've got all that, and I was able to upgrade a lot of weapons. Now there are, I think, 32 main missions in the game, but then you also have buddy missions you can do, where your buddies will give you missions to do, or alternate ways to do certain missions that others give you. You also have side missions, which there's 40 of them to do, so that's something that's really cool. And then, of course, you have a bunch of different achievements you can work on, and of course, some are based on multiplayer, but I just play this for the single player. But it's really cool because this has that African setting, so they have like the savannah, you know, wild animals running around, but then also have a jungle setting. And something that's really nice too is like the music and like the atmosphere of the game, and like the jungle sound, especially if you guys have like a headset, because I have a wonderful Turtle Beach headset for my Xbox One that I love playing my games with, because it really immerses me in the world, especially if I turn it up to max. And when you're in like the jungle, so you hear the animals and you hear like the water and the noise and stuff like that. It just really draws you into the world. And so I love that they went to put that much detail into the world, and it really draws you in and makes it feel like it's a living, breathing world. The voice acting is done really well in this game. I like it. You can drive vehicles, you also can drive boats, and all of it is done in first person. So sometimes, in first person shooter games, when you get into a vehicle, it goes third person. This one is actually first person, so it can be kind of difficult at first to control a vehicle that you can only see at first person, but it makes it more realistic, and that's something I really like. And the vehicles do handle really well, your character handles well. So overall, I love the controls, and just overall is a fun game and a fun story. Now, I mean, it's not the most deep and immersive story, as this is one of the more early Far Cry games, so it's kind of like your basic first-person shooter, but it's still a wonderful entry in the series. And if you guys have never played Far Cry 2, you owe it to yourself to play it. It's a very cheap game, and like I mentioned, it's backwards compatible with the Xbox One X. It's also backwards compatible with Xbox 360. Well, of course it'd be Xbox 360 Gs, because it was on Xbox 360. I meant to say it's on Xbox One, Xbox One S, but Xbox One X would be your best bet, as it's the most powerful of the 8th generation console. And of course, it would be backwards compatible with your Xbox Series X and would perform even better on there. But you guys definitely should give this one a try. It's a great game. Now, I do know that it does have more than one ending. I'm not sure how many endings it has in total, but um, you can have multiple save files, which I always have a bunch of them, and I have a bunch in my cloud. And I'm gonna get to one point and figure out, what you can do to get a different ending, because I would like to see the different endings. I always like games that have multiple endings. That's something that's kind of cool and fun. And definitely having a blast with the Far Cry 2. And again, I want to thank Dean so much, bro, for suggesting the Far Cry series to me, because I actually recently bought the Far Cry 5 like ultimate bundle, and it actually gave me a free digital copy of Far Cry 3 and Far Cry New Dawn and all the DLC for those. So I now have of course, I own the original Far Cry on my original Xbox, but I also have the Far Cry Instincts and Predators, like 2 different Far Cry games on there. And then I got Far Cry 2, and I've got Far Cry 3 now with all the DLC. I've got Far Cry 4 with all the DLC, and then Far Cry 5 with all the DLC. And then later this year, we're going to be getting Far Cry 6. So I would like to go through and play all the Far Cry games there are out there. I also have Far Cry Primal 2, so I really do enjoy the Far Cry series, and this number 2 here is done very well, and it's a game I think you guys should definitely check out, especially if you're a fan of the Far Cry series and you've never played it. like I said, it's not now as as involved or as large as far as the world goes or immersive as like some of the later Far Cry games. There was like more stuff to do in those, but since this is one of the early ones, it's still worth checking out because at this time when it came out in 2008, there wasn't a whole lot of open world games similar to this one at the time. So it really was helped pave the way for future open world games, and it's definitely one that you guys should check out. We'll go do a little quick recap here, like we do every week. I talked about Donkey Kong Country for Game Boy Advance. Now, this is a wonderful port of the Super Nintendo version. Now, the graphics aren't as good as the Super Nintendo, but they're still pretty comparable because you do have to remember this was made for little Game Boy Advance portable system, and so the music is a little bit different in sounds, but it's still a wonderful game, and it actually has changes compared to the Super Nintendo version. Like one thing I didn't mention earlier was that like the boss fights in this are actually tweaked a little bit to make them a little bit more challenging. So I thought that was a really cool addition to it. Plus there's some new mini games and stuff. They've added some additional collectibles. So it's really fun game to play. And you can also play this if you had two copies, you can link it up and you could play two-player just like you did on Super Nintendo. But definitely check out Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Advance, especially if you played it on Super Nintendo. You should play the Game Boy Advance version. It has enough changes to warrant going back and playing through it. If you enjoyed it on Super Nintendo, you'll enjoy it on the Game Boy Advance. Wonderful game. And then, of course, we also talked about Far Cry 2, which this is a wonderful entry in the Far Cry series. Now, it's not like it's a detailed or as many missions and stuff as your later Far Cry games because, this was one of their first entries into getting into open world, but it's still worth checking out. It has a setting in Africa. You play as a mercenary and you have two different sides fighting each other, and pretty much like everybody's a bad guy and kind of an asshole. Even your character is kind of an asshole because you're there to collect diamonds and kill people and stuff. So there's really no um, good or evil. There's kind of just different layers and grayscale of like who's really good, who's really evil, is kind of for you to make up. And really, your guy's motivation is you want to get diamonds and just do your mission and stuff. So who cares, whatever happens to this country. So I thought that was different, kind of a unique setting for the characters and stuff, that not always just have like a black and white good or evil. There's kind of different gray areas there and stuff. I thought that was really fun and enhanced the story and stuff for me. So this is one I'm looking forward to beating. I've got like 36 or 37 hours into this. Actually, I'm at I have 38 of 40 of the side missions. I got most of the buddy missions done, and I think I'm about 20 some missions into the main campaign. So I think I have like 11 or 12 left, and then I'll have the game beat. So looking forward to beating this. Hopefully I'll get this beat here in the next couple of weeks. But let me know your guys' thoughts. You guys have played Donkey Kong Country for Game Boy Advance or Far Cry 2? Two wonderful titles I think you guys should check out. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on these two games. I also want to hear what games you guys have been playing, and if you have any suggestions on a title you think I should check out, let me know, because you guys always recommend really fun games. I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care. You guys have a great day, and Sleepy will see you next time.